Hey, what is up, YouTube? It is K-Rod here. I'm back with another good live stream today. I hope all is well today. Shout out to the LDBC. Let's talk about it. Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury trilogy. Post-fight thoughts. Good fight. Unfortunately, Deontay he got ironically knocked out by Tyson Fury in the 11th round, which was very unreal and did not make any sense. But I'm going to talk about that. It was a good fight while it lasted. Deontay, he said what he wanted to do. He's going to come back in blood, but he wanted to go out on a shield, and good enough that he did do that. But there was still something fishy out of that fight, which I'm going to cover into now rather than later. But the fight itself was a good fight. I enjoyed watching it. Tyson Fury was not able to cheat with tampered gloves. It looked like his gloves were normally padded. There was no manipulation coming from my own angle on the television seeing them. They looked like they were fully wrapped and padded, and I think that's all that we ask for, is just have a fair fight, and if you beat Deontay Wilder, you beat him. But something just didn't fit right with me. Out of this whole entire fight, Deontay Wilder still looked like the same Wilder from the second fight. And I'm not to say that Deontay Wilder ever got cheated in his corner. I think everything was fine and dandy. But the shots that I believe Wilder was taking unnecessarily from Tyson Fury, they looked like the same shots from the second fight, where Deontay Wilder just, had blood coming out of his ear, didn't look like the same guy, kind of looked like he slowed down every time each round passed by, and I was just like, how does Deontay Wilder do that? Because Deontay Wilder has amazing stamina, and he has great ring IQ to know when the fight is going on, especially to the long run. Shouldn't it be more into Deontay Wilder's favor? Because Deontay Wilder does not gas out that early. But now I can understand, like, him being bigger, all muscle, which I kind of felt like him being big and bulky, that could have played a factor into his size differential with Tyson Fury, making him tire out a lot quicker earlier in the fight. That's really what made Tyson Fury like a little bit victorious in the fight. But it was simply because of Deontay Wilder just not listening to Malik Scott and actually, not implementing the game plan to defeat Tyson Fury easier, which he was doing good in the very first round, which I gave it to Wilder, because Wilder, he was punching Fury to the body and he was dominating him, but then he just fell off. He didn't keep on doing that and mixing it up and trying to make Fury think more, and then breaking Fury down mentally and physically downstairs and then upstairs. And I think that's what Fury capitalized against Wilder. He just kind of used, his advantages over Wilder that allowed the disadvantages to come to him, where he stopped working to the body and then Fury just kept jabbing him, and then Wilder just kept running right into that right hand every single time, which made no sense at all. And then I was really shocked when he got knocked out and knocked down. I was like, how does Deontay Wilder, a guy that has 41 plus knockouts, get knocked out and knocked down by Tyson Fury, who has no knockout power at all? This man does not even knock out people that much. He's only had, basically, I want to say like less than 10 knockouts. And then the rest of his quote-unquote knockouts are TKO victories, which are technically just stoppages. So those aren't knockouts. So my only question to Deontay Wilder is that, why didn't you just follow the game plan with Malik Scott, and you would have easily knocked out Fury? Because I know what Deontay Wilder was trying to do. He was trying to land the right hand, but he should have used it to the body. If you use your right hand to the body, guess what? Fury's hands are going to go down, and he's going to get knocked the fuck out. So either way, I think it was just a poor mechanism of using the, how should I say, using the wrong form of methodology to break Fury down and beat him downstairs and then upstairs. Because Deontay Wilder, if he had done that more, he would have easily knocked out Tyson Fury. And I saw it too. Tyson Fury, he was like, he was getting hit to the body more, and then his body language was like, ah, shit. Deontay Wilder, he's hitting me more to the body. If he keeps this up, like, he's gonna knock me out. Blah, blah, blah. So, either way, I'm still proud of Deontay Wilder because, the different version of Wilder, if he had done that more, he would have knocked out Fury. But he just resorted back to the old Wilder where he's trying to go for that right hand, and, it just made no sense. Like, I was like, Wilder, you could have easily stopped him to the body. And Fury looked like blubber fat, so that makes it a lot easier for Wilder to just crush him to the body. He could have easily broke a rib. He could have broke his, fucking spine or broke his fucking liver. Either way, it's just like, I was just very surprised of how Wilder just did not use all those new tools that Malik gave to him, and he could have easily stopped them. But, I'm still Bomb Squad all day. It's just that Deontay Wilder, he should have just listened to Malik Scott, and I'm going to talk about of what he could have done leading into, the beginning into the end of the fight. But either way, I'm going to respond to some comments. Hey, what's up, TS Boxing? TS Boxing said, that was a disaster. I felt like this was really hard to take. That second knockdown, Fury didn't look like he wanted to get up. Yeah, I definitely agree. And I felt like if Wilder just applied pressure to the body when Fury was hurt, Fury would have been knocked out cold. And I saw it right on front of my TV. I was like, yo, you better not ever don't ever give Fury the ability to recover when he's hurt. Because when he's hurt, he's backing up. And what Wilder should have done, he should have worked Fury to the body and then snap that fucking right hand to the body and then mix it up with the left jab leading to a uppercut with a body uppercut punch. Because that's what Wilder should have done. If he had done that, Fury would have gone to sleep a long time ago. It would have been done earlier, but Wilder, he just let Fury regain his confidence, and then he started going back to the jab, running away, blah, 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 trying to act like he had, he has this good herky-jerk style to give Wilder problems. And then come to find out, it's like, Fury wasn't doing anything special. Wilder was just taking unnecessary blows, and then he didn't have his legs, properly stanced together, which allowed Fury to just hit him with all these, wide open shots that Wilder allowed Fury to give, or allow Fury to throw at him, and surprisingly land on Wilder. And then Fury was able to knock Wilder down because Wilder did not position his legs correctly in the entire fight. And then when Wilder was hurt, it was simply because he did not keep his hands up, and he was throwing so many unnecessary punches to Fury as if he was desperate, and then he got himself clipped and then later knocked out. I was like, yo, Wilder, this is not you, dude. You are way better than Fury. And I still have that on my pound for pound. I still would put Wilder better than Fury if he had listened to Malik Scott. But the fact that Wilder did not use any of those tools that Malik Scott had trained to him, and he wasn't listening to him, he had his head down as if he was discouraged. I was like, Wilder, what are you doing, man? You are way better than this. When Deontay Wilder was fighting King Kong Ortiz or fighting Johan Duapapaz, or fucking Chris Areola, he was never like that. He was always ready to be like, okay, I'll make these little tiny adjustments, and then sooner than later he just knocked their asses out. When he fought Bermain Stavern in the rematch after he had beat him the first time, what did Wilder do? He made those quick hyperflex adjustments to keep his jab onto the outside, but then shift right to get that right hand ready to land when it's right. So Deontay Wilder is not a dumb fighter. He is very smart when he knows when to hit people at the right time. But the fact that he did not let his game plan be, how should I say, implemented correctly through Malik Scott, he decided to take it up to his own hands and try to, pressure Fury with all these unnecessary shots that weren't landing. And then it gave Fury the opportunity to hit Wilder as much as he could. And then Wilder was getting banged up for some weird reason, which led to Fury getting knocked down on Wilder and then knocking Wilder out. So I think it was just simply due to poor, how should I say, poor listening to the trainer that Wilder did not do. And he should have took his time with his jab, and he should have worked to the body more. If he had done that, he would have brutally stopped Fury. I guarantee you. And I don't like Tyson Fury, but I'm going to give the man respect to say that he has boxing skills, but it's not that good. It's only good when you allow Fury to get away with what he does. So when we all say that Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight in the world, if you could open up a standard book of boxing to learn how to box, Tyson Fury would be that best standard fighter when it comes to boxing. But when it comes to having better methodology and better technique and ring IQ in boxing, that would be Deontay Wilder, because he knows how to set up the punches at the right time and break you down in the process of doing that. And what I saw from this trilogy is not the same thing from the first fight. Deontay Wilder could have easily replicated what he did in the first fight to Fury, which he clearly won the fight, but I'm going to keep it as a draw. But still, let's just say it's just 1-1 right now, because Deontay Wilder had Fury's number in the first fight, quote unquote. But then in the second fight, he got cheated, so that doesn't count. The third fight, Fury got lucky, and then he knocked Wilder out. So either way, what we could say from this fight is that Wilder, he did not give himself the confidence that he had from the first fight, and he allowed Fury to hit him unnecessarily with all these wide open shots that he gave Fury to land on. And then that's what broke Wilder's fighting spirit down, which led him to get hurt and then knocked out. But credits to Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder fought a really tough fight. He knocked Fury twice, which Fury, he looked like, he was going to get knocked out. But I think what Deontay Wilder failed to do, he failed to just work Fury to the body. If you did that, he wouldn't have been tired, man. Deontay Wilder is much smarter than that. And, I think it was mainly due to the emotionalism that was running through his mind to be like, okay, if this is if this is going to end up with the second fight, I'm not going to let Fury just, dog walk me, blah, 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 which obviously Wilder wasn't the same person. But still, Deontay Wilder, he did some good things right in the fight, but if he had listened to Malik Scott, he would have stopped Fury completely. And I definitely wouldn't have seen Wilder on television just get banged up unnecessarily to a guy that does not have punching power. How does Fury balloon up in so much weight for this fight when we saw him from the first fight? He was running away from Wilder every time when Wilder tagged him with that jab, and then every time when Wilder hit him to the body, Fury always backed up. So what Wilder should have done is that he should have took pages from the first fight, implemented better strategy to work the jab to the body, and then he would have stopped Fury. But I think what Wilder didn't do was just that he just didn't listen to Malik Scott, and he let his warrior ego get to him, and then he started to throw these unnecessary punches that left himself wide open to get hit by Fury more in the fight, which left to Fury capitalizing more on Wilder and then knocking him out. And Fury's not a knockout puncher, remind you. Fury, he's a pillow-fisted fighter, but the fact that Deontay Wilder let himself get gassed out in the fight, which made no sense at all because he has great stamina, I think it was just simply due to the fact that Wilder, he ballooned up in weight to 238 all muscle, which, like, you know, which I don't mind that, but at the same time, it's like, if Wilder was a lot lighter, like 215, like 220, he would have had a lot more athletic ability to do the things that he could have done to Fury. And I think it was just due to the smothering of weight that Fury was doing onto the inside. And I think what Wilder should have done, he should have just backed Fury up with the body shots, and then boom, he would have had more stamina to knock Fury out. Plain and simple. But let's see what the comments say. The second knockdown, I think it's a weight and the age. Yes, I definitely agree. I didn't see any improvements from Wilder at all. And Usyk is the best heavyweight. I don't know about that. I think it needs to be determined by how Usyk implements his fighting style to Tyson Fury. But if Usyk beats Fury, then Tyson Fury was never a good fighter in the first place. Because if you're going to allow Usyk to do the same thing what he did to AJ, that's going to be very funny to see Tyson Fury basically take so much time away from the sport after getting exposed for taking cocaine and Nandrolone, and then you come back from quote-unquote depression, you know, beat Deontay Wilder in the trilogy, but got your ass beat in the first fight, and then you cheated in the second fight, and now leading up to Undisputed. If Usyk beats Fury convincingly, and he does what every southpaw should do, is just make a fighter uncomfortable, use your methodologies, break them down, Usyk will definitely be the Cinderella upset to the heavyweight division. Because what Usyk would be known for is simply with his ring IQ and just better boxing strategy. You know, Usyk has amazing, you know, boxing strategy when it comes to reading opponents early, and then he knows how to break them down faster. And I think what Usyk can do to Tyson Fury is going to be the same thing what he's going to do to AJ in the rematch leading up to Undisputed. So either way, it's just like Usyk, he definitely has a lot better, how should I say? He has a lot better methodology when it comes to understanding opponents a lot faster in the fight. And he has a better game plan implemented a lot more strategically to win the fight easier. And I think if Usyk does that to Fury, I will definitely be happy, because at least Usyk, he's daring to be great, and he's doing everything right to try to win the fight. And Usyk, like, you know, he's not going to be stupid to take unnecessary blows. He's going to move around. He's going to give Fury problems. And I think what Fury doesn't like out of southpaws is that, which actually, I don't think Fury has ever fought a southpaw, if I'm mistaken. Yeah, so, I mean, if he hasn't fought a southpaw, that should be a bad style matchup for Fury. But if Usyk does what he did to AJ to Fury, I would definitely have Usyk beating Fury convincingly. And I mean, if he can knock out Fury in the process, please do it. And what I would say for Deontay Wilder, I'm pretty sure all the piece of shit haters would try to tell me, oh, no, Wilder, he needs to fucking retire. He's trash, blah, blah, blah. He's not the same fighter. No. I'm Team Bomb Squad every single day. And I think what Deontay Wilder should do for the rest of his career is, one, he should probably continue fighting. He should probably listen to Malik Scott more. And if he still wants to go after Undisputed, it's really not that hard to get back up there. I think what Deontay Wilder should do is that he needs to implement a better IQ with listening to Malik Scott as the fight goes on. Wait, hold on. Give me a second. Hold on. Alright, I'm back. So, I think what he needs to do in order to make the fight easier for him, or to make his fights easier for him to win, like, you know, to win better, is simply listen to Malik Scott, implement the right game plan to work the body early, and then mix it up to the top for the right hand, leading to more combinations to knock somebody out. And Wilder, he needs to just improve on defense. I think that was the biggest thing that Wilder should have done out of this whole entire training camp. Which I think, like, Malik Scott, he's not a dumb fighter, and he's not a dumb trainer. He's a really, really good trainer. But I think Wilder, he just didn't listen to him. Simply, that's what happened. If Wilder had listened to Malik Scott, he would have easily knocked out Fury, and I think Wilder would have just done the same thing to Usyk. But I mean, Wilder, he's not out of the woods. He can easily go after, other mandatory, title eliminator fights, and he could easily get himself back up on world title contention. That being through the IBF or through the WBA. Obviously, I would just keep away from the WBC because we all know what the fuck happened with the WBC trying to allow Fury to wear messed up gloves. But I'm not even so sure about those MX gloves. Like, I was thinking Deontay Wilder was going to use the same amount of, he was going to use the same gloves that Tyson Fury was using into the fight, but I guess he decided to use the Everlast one, so I don't know. There's something shady about that. I was a little bit surprised that Deontay Wilder would let this happen. I think he should have brought his attorney to the situation or he should have had the attorney and the judge on the line to say Tyson Fury should not be wearing these gloves, and it should be a fair, clean fight with fully padded gloves on. But from my own perspective, Fury's gloves looked properly padded. They did not look tampered. There was no how should I say, smudging of the gloves to see Fury's bare knuckle shown on the glove at all. So that's something that I will respect out of Fury until further notice. But I would say it was a fair fight while it lasted until speculations are met to the fullest degree. But as far as Deontay Wilder's career, it's not over, man. All the greats have lost, and some greats continue to be greater than the people that they hype job other fighters to be. When Joe Louis lost to Max Schmeling, everybody basically said the same thing to Joe Louis. Oh, he's not that good, blah, blah, blah. Joe Louis is the worst heavyweight ever, and fucking remind you, Joe Louis was the second black heavyweight champion 29 years later after Jack Johnson became the first black heavyweight champion. So when Joe Louis became champion again by destroying Max Schmeling, having a better game plan coming into that fight, and breaking Max Schmeling down to the body, working him up to the head with amazing, combination punches downstairs and then upstairs. Joe Louis was, rated back he was rated back to being one of the best heavyweights ever, blah, blah, blah. Knowing that he got shitted on by the media the first time that he lost. But basically my point is that you have to lose in order to win in life. But just because you lose in boxing doesn't mean everything's over. And how Deontay Wilder looked like in this fight, that was not the same Deontay Wilder that I saw from the first fight against Fury. I think Deontay Wilder, he should have just listened to his trainer more, and he should have had a better IQ coming into that fight. And then he definitely needs to work on defense more. If he had good defense against Tyson Fury, he would have been knocked out a lot sooner. Because Wilder, he had so many opportunities to counter Fury, but he just left himself wide open to get hit, and he tried to treat it like it's a WWE match, oh, I'm going to hit you, you're going to hit me, blah, 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 and he didn't use any technical principles to make to make it easier for him to knock out Fury. And I personally believe Tyson Fury, he was being nervous the entire fight. He knew what Deontay Wilder was going to do to him, but Deontay Wilder did not use the instructions that Malik Scott gave to him. So, my final thoughts on this is that Deontay Wilder, he's still one of the best heavyweights ever, But as far as Fury goes, I want to put him there. I would still say he's a cheating piece of shit, but I will respect Fury for fairly defeating Deontay Wilder until further notice. That's still to be speculated, but still, if Fury beat Wilder fair and square, fine. You are one of the best heavyweights. You're not the better heavyweight. I still don't believe Fury being the better heavyweight because you're not a good fighter if you had to cheat in the past just to get up to where you need to be. So that's not something that I'm going to respect out of a fighter. But I will respect the fact that Fury came to fight fair and square until further notice. But as for Deontay Wilder, his career is not over. He could easily fight a couple last more fights. Probably just get himself like a world title or shit. I mean, if Usyk beats Fury, it would be nice to see Wilder, come back up into the rankings, which it's not that far for him to get back up there. He could easily just go the IBF route. Let's just say he beats Charles Martin or beats whoever is like the number one guy, and boom, he could easily come back into the rankings. And I think if Wilder does that, he'll easily get back on track. And if he's focused and he's listening to Malik Scott, I would have Wilder definitely climbing back up to championship contention, if not chasing undisputed. But either way, Deontay Wilder's legacy has already been complete. I think the last few things that he could do for the end of his career is just get more marquee victories. Honestly, Deontay Wilder really doesn't need to go for like a world title anymore. But if I'm Deontay Wilder, I definitely want to take out all the people that that obviously were ducking you. I definitely beat the crap out of Charles Martin. I don't think Charles Martin has been ducking Wilder. I just think Martin, he obviously took a easier route away from Wilder. But still, go after Charles Martin. Beat the crap out of him. Beat the crap out of Andy Ruiz. I still like to see that fight. Go after Dillian White. And I'd say probably go after Usyk. Let's see if Usyk could give Wilder that proper opportunity. And I would love to see Usyk beat Fury, because if Usyk says, I still believe that I have more work to do at the heavyweight division, if he chooses Deontay Wilder, do you know how good that would be for Deontay Wilder if he was called up for undisputed title defense against Usyk? If Usyk could do the impossible to beat Tyson Fury and beat Deontay Wilder, that would be historic. But I would definitely have Usyk beating Fury for undisputed. But if Wilder faces Usyk and he breaks Usyk down the way that I would visualize it, and in that type of theoretical fight, I would definitely have Wilder defeating Usyk brutally by stoppage, because Usyk, his style is definitely tailor-made for Wilder. But Wilder's style, if he follows instructions by Malik Scott, he could definitely defeat Usyk, convincingly. But Wilder's not out of the woods. He could easily go multiple directions, and he doesn't need to fight all these, co-mandatories from number 5 to number 4 or number 3 ranked contenders. Wilder can easily be back into the mix just by going the easiest route. Let's just say the IBF or the WBO route. He could easily just fight maybe 1 or 2 fights, and then boom, he's ready for a world title. And then let's just say after he gets that world title, he could easily unify the belts. Let's just say if Usyk or Tyson Fury wins and they vacate all the belts, then what that means for Wilder is that it's going to be a lot easier for Wilder to get undisputed anyway, because once he has all the belts, freed up for him, what is that going to mean for all the other heavyweights in the back? That means, let's just say Usyk and Fury, they're gone, and Wilder, he goes after, let's just say, the IBF or WBA or WBO. I would keep away from the WBC, make that last. But if he could go that route, I would definitely be proud of him, because Wilder, he's definitely not out of the woods in his career, and he has plenty of time left. But if I'm Deontay Wilder, if I just want to get a couple last few good wins until, it's all over and said and done, then I definitely pad up like my stats. I would just get more victories, defeat more guys that have been avoiding you. I definitely want to see him beat the shit out of Dillian White. That itself would be a really good fight to watch, and I would be happy if he beats the crap out of Dillian White. But if he could beat Dillian White, beat Charles Martin, beat Andy Ruiz, and shit, go after maybe some of what the up and coming heavyweight contenders. Go after Jared Anderson, beat his ass out. Obviously, I don't think Jared Anderson would ever want that fight because he's gonna be like, oh nah, Deontay Wilder, nah, I can't fight him, knowing that he was talking all that smack against Wilder, and Wilder allowed him to come over to his training camp and train at him, train with him and spar with him, and then Wilder paid for everything. No, I think Wilder, he would definitely if I'm Wilder, I would like to end people's careers that have been talking smack about me. If I'm looking to just prize fight and make people's careers look bad, I would definitely do that. But either way, Deontay Wilder's career is definitely set in stone. I definitely put him up there with the all-time legends, Muhammad Ali, Jack Johnson, Joe Louis. He is one of 6 heavyweights in the entire world to defend his title 10 times. And if he had beat Fury and defended his title again, he would have beat Muhammad Ali's record. That's a fact. 10 times for the WBC. So obviously, Deontay Wilder's career is not out of the woods. He could easily become a 2-time heavyweight champion again. He could easily just wait for Undisputed to be over, go straight for that world title, and then boom, Deontay Wilder, he's back on track. So, my final thoughts is that I don't see Deontay Wilder's career being over. I obviously would want to re-avenge my loss that I took from Fury. Just get a couple more wins under his belt, and just end his career with maybe like a final, farewell message. Like fight a couple more good fights, get himself a title, and if he can, climb his way to Undisputed once more. I think Deontay Wilder is definitely way better than both Usyk and Fury for not laying down and just taking a ass whooping just to be embarrassed by everyone. He he will show to the world why he is Deontay Wilder. He's a true warrior. So Deontay Wilder's career is not over. Obviously, age is definitely getting up to him. I would say take a couple more good fights and try to go for one more belt. And if nobody else don't want to unify with Wilder, or if he's able to get unification, just wait for all these other guys to fight it out, and then he could just unify with the winners of whoever's unifying with another champion. Because Wilder, he could easily get himself another belt. I mean, if he wants to go, look, if he can go for another mandatory contention spot, let's just say the IBF, WBO, or WBA. I say it'd be better to go the IBF or WBO route, because at least they give Wilder respect there, and they don't, mess around with rankings. Wilder can easily be back into world contention status, and when he does that, it's already set in stone for Wilder to be the most dangerous man on the planet. And I think what Wilder will do is that he will decapitate all the other heavyweights in his division, because it's easy enough to show that Deontay Wilder, he's not vulnerable to those heavyweights. Luis Ortiz, he's not going to be a problem anymore. But if he could face like a Charles Martin or a Dillian White, which, we all know Dillian White, he's not going to fight Wilder. And he's going to say, Tyson Fury beat you all 3 times. No, and it was only 1. But minus the second fight for cheating. But still, Deontay Wilder is one of the most dangerous heavyweights on the planet. And it's not going to be that hard for him to climb back up within a fight or two. And then, boom, he's already back on world title status. It's not that hard to get back up there. You just need to win convincingly against a top guy. And then, boom, you're already back on track. So if he had listened to Malik Scott in the trilogy against Fury, he would have stopped Fury. And then, boom, Wilder would have won. All the flowers would be given to him, blah, blah, blah. But I think Wilder, if he bounces back and he beats any of the top guys of any other sanctioning body rankings, He is back on track. He could easily get himself a world title. Wait for all the other champions to be made. He doesn't really like. Obviously, Wilder. He could actually just keep fighting all the other vacant belts if none of those guys are ever trying to fight each other. Because we all know, like, Daniel Dubois, Trevor Bryan, and then Jared Anderson. We all know he's going to be up there in the future. But it would be nice to see Wilder do that, because at least he is still fighting the best after Fury and Usyk are over. Because we all know that those two idiots, they're going to be gone. Well, Usyk, he's not an idiot. Piece of shit Fury's going to be gone. He's going to say, oh, my career is blah, 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 good, and I'm still better than Wilder, even if he goes for undisputed. But let's just say if Fury loses undisputed and then Wilder gets undisputed, does that make Wilder still not as good compared to Fury? No. Wilder is still better than Fury if he's still fighting the best. And Fury, if he's not willing to fight the best, and let's just say if he's not willing to defend his undisputed belts against somebody at the top that's waiting for him, I would definitely have Deontay Wilder over Tyson Fury any day. Because what Fury, what Fury will not do compared to all the other heavyweights that have undisputed titles, like Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, all those big names, he's not going to defend his undisputed belts against a top heavyweight contender. He's going to be like, oh, I don't need to do that. I can just go back to my hometown and drink beers and kiss my little babies and whatnot. And Tyson Fury knows what will happen if he did that. He will definitely be the same Tyson Fury thinking, oh, I'm better than you, blah, blah, blah. And, if he gets knocked out convincingly by some unknown guy that beats the crap out of him, that would be over for him. But it would be nice to see Usyk be the first one to do its own for undisputed. So I would definitely favor Usyk over Fury for undisputed. Deontay Wilder's not out of the woods. I'm Bomb Squad all day. Much love to Tay Jones and Deontay Wilder's team. You guys are the best. Malik King Scott, you did an amazing job. I'm happy that I had watched this fight on TV, put my money into this fight. Thank you to everybody that watched this stream. Bomb Squad all day. Deontay Wilder, whatever you do for the rest of your career, you're still one of the best heavyweights in the world. Even over Fury, if you continue to dare to be great. And, much respect to everybody else, man. I had a fun time doing this. So, until next time, I will see you guys later. And Bomb Squad all day. Shout out to the mighty